The captain had cut her transmission mid-sentence, declaring her patrol route non-essential and ordering her back to base immediately. Command radar showed 3 unidentified aircraft breaching restricted airspace, but Lieutenant Sofia Reyes was told to disengage, that backup was en route. What happened next defied every rule of engagement and left an entire squadron questioning everything they thought they knew about air combat. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The morning sun cast long shadows across the tarmac at Valderas Air Base, nestled in the mountainous region of northern Spain. It was October 12, 2019, and the crisp autumn air carried the scent of pine from the surrounding Sierra de Guadarrama. Lieutenant Sofia Reyes adjusted her flight helmet as she completed her pre-flight inspection of the Eurofighter Typhoon, its sleek gray surface gleaming under the Mediterranean sunshine. Sofia had been flying combat missions for 6 years, but today felt different. Intelligence reports had been fragmentary all week, unusual radar signatures detected near the Portuguese border, civilian aircraft reporting strange metallic objects at high altitude, and most concerning of all, 3 separate incidents of military transport planes experiencing unexplained electronic interference while crossing international airspace. At 0847 hours, Sofia received her mission briefing from Captain Miguel Hernandez, a veteran pilot whose 23 years of service had earned him respect throughout the European air defense network. His weathered face bore the kind of lines that came from squinting into countless sunrises from cockpit windows, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had seen action over the Balkans and Libya. "Standard patrol route, Reyes," he said, tracing a finger across the digital map display. "Sector 7 through 11, altitude ceiling 35,000 feet, duration 4 hours. Weather's perfect, visibility unlimited, winds light and variable. Should be routine." Sofia nodded, but something in the captain's tone suggested he was holding back information. She had learned to read the subtle tensions in briefing rooms, the way senior officers' eyes would dart away when discussing routine missions that felt anything but routine. "Sir, regarding the radar anomalies mentioned in yesterday's intelligence summary, civilian aircraft misidentifying weather balloons," Hernandez interrupted sharply. "Command has determined there's no credible threat. Your mission parameters remain unchanged." As Sofia walked toward her aircraft, she passed the maintenance chief, Elena Vasquez, who had serviced every jet on the base for over a decade. Elena's hands were perpetually stained with hydraulic fluid, and her coveralls bore patches from a dozen different squadron emblems. But her knowledge of aircraft systems was encyclopedic. "How's she running today?" Sofia asked, patting the Typhoon's nose cone. Elena glanced around, then lowered her voice. "All systems green, but I've been getting weird electromagnetic readings from the avionics bay. Nothing that shows up on diagnostics. But the radio frequency spectrum analyzer is picking up interference patterns I've never seen before." "What kind of patterns?" "Structured. Like someone's broadcasting on frequencies that shouldn't exist." Elena shrugged. "Probably just solar activity. The sun's been active lately." But Sofia caught the doubt in Elena's voice. Maintenance chiefs didn't mention weird readings unless something was genuinely unusual. At 0915 hours, Sofia lifted off into crystal clear skies. The Typhoon climbed smoothly through 20,000 feet, its twin EJ200 engines providing the kind of responsive power that made flying feel less like operating machinery and more like directing pure energy. Below her, the Spanish countryside spread out in a patchwork of autumn colors: golden wheat fields, dark green forests, and the silver ribbon of the Duero River winding toward the Atlantic. For the first 90 minutes, everything proceeded exactly as briefed. Sofia maintained radio contact with Valderas Control, reported her position at designated waypoints, and scanned the horizon through her helmet-mounted display system. The aircraft's radar swept continuously, painting a picture of empty sky marked only by the occasional commercial airliner, following established flight corridors at 10:47 hours. That changed. 3 contacts appeared on Sofia's radar display, emerging from what should have been empty airspace near the Portuguese border. The signatures were unlike anything in her aircraft identification database, too large to be civilian aircraft, too fast to be cargo planes, but moving in formation patterns. That suggested military precision. Sofia keyed her radio immediately. Valderas Control, this is Phoenix 27. I have 3 unidentified aircraft bearing 270, range 42 kilometers, altitude approximately 28,000 feet. Request instructions. The response came from Captain Hernandez himself, his voice crackling through the encrypted channel. Phoenix 27, negative on intercept. You are ordered to maintain current heading and altitude. Command is aware of the situation. Sir, these aircraft are not broadcasting identification codes and appear to be entering restricted airspace. According to engagement protocols, Phoenix 27, you will disregard those contacts and continue your assigned patrol route. Backup units are being scrambled to handle the situation. Do not deviate from mission parameters. Sofia stared at her radar display. The 3 contacts had changed course and were now heading directly toward a commercial air corridor where Iberia, Flight 447, carrying 312 passengers from Madrid to Lisbon, was scheduled to pass in 14 minutes. Captain, I have civilian traffic inbound to the same airspace. If those aircraft maintain their current heading, Phoenix 27, this is a direct order. Return to base immediately. Your mission is terminated. The radio went silent except for the steady hiss of static. Sofia looked at her fuel gauge, plenty for combat operations, then at her weapons systems display. 2 AIM-12 AMRAAM missiles and 1 AI-9 Sidewinder, all showing green status lights. 3 unidentified aircraft, 1 civilian airliner with over 300 souls aboard, and a direct order to abandon the intercept. Sofia Reyes had never disobeyed a direct order in 6 years of military service. But as she watched the radar contacts accelerate toward the commercial flight path, she realized that sometimes the right choice and the legal choice weren't the same thing. She banked hard left toward the unknown aircraft, her thumb hovering over the radio transmission button. What she was about to do would end her career. But 312 innocent people were worth more than one pilot's future. Sofia's Eurofighter cut through the crisp morning air at Mach 1.4, the Mediterranean sun creating a brilliant blue backdrop against the snow-capped peaks of the Pyrenees in the distance. Her radar warning receiver remained silent. The 3 unidentified aircraft weren't painting her with targeting radar yet, but their formation had tightened into what she recognized as an attack pattern. At this distance, Sofia could make out details that chilled her blood. The aircraft were sleek, angular, and unlike any design in NATO's aircraft recognition manual. Their surfaces seemed to absorb sunlight rather than reflect it, giving them an almost ethereal quality against the bright sky. Most disturbing of all, they showed no national markings, no identification numbers, nothing to indicate their origin or purpose. Unidentified aircraft on bearing 270. This is Spanish Air Force Phoenix 27, Sofia transmitted on the international emergency frequency. You are entering restricted airspace. Identify yourself immediately and alter course to avoid civilian traffic. No response. The 3 aircraft maintained their heading directly toward the commercial air corridor. Sofia checked her tactical display. Iberia Flight 447 was now 11 minutes from intersecting the unknown aircraft's flight path. The civilian airliner was cruising at 37,000 feet, completely unaware of the potential threat approaching from below. Her hands moved automatically through combat, Procedures drilled into muscle memory during countless training exercises. Master. Arm switch to armed. Weapon selection to a IM-12 AMRAAM. Fire control radar to track while scan mode. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The Typhoon systems responded instantly, transforming from a reconnaissance platform into a precision combat instrument. But something was wrong with her communications. Every attempt to contact Valderas control resulted in static, as if some form of electronic interference was blocking her transmissions. Sofia tried multiple frequencies, emergency channels, even the civilian air traffic control frequency. Nothing went through. Elena was right about the electromagnetic interference. Sofia muttered, cycling through her radio options one more time. Whatever technology these unknown aircraft possessed, it was sophisticated enough to jam military-grade communication systems. The lead aircraft was now within visual range, and Sofia felt her breath catch. The design was revolutionary, a delta wing configuration with canards that moved independently, suggesting fly-by-wire technology far in advance of anything currently operational. The aircraft's skin seemed to shift color subtly as it banked, adaptive camouflage that would make it nearly invisible against varying backgrounds. Sofia armed her cannon as a backup option and increased throttle to close the distance. At 2 kilometers, she could see the pilot's helmet through the canopy of the lead aircraft. Whoever was flying these machines was human, not some autonomous system. That meant they could be reasoned with, threatened, or if necessary, engaged. Unknown aircraft, you have 30 seconds to alter course or I will consider you hostile. Sofia transmitted, knowing the communication probably wouldn't get through but hoping the universal language of a fighter jet approaching from the rear would be clear enough. The response was immediate and terrifying. All 3 aircraft executed a perfect split-S maneuver simultaneously, diving toward the civilian air corridor while accelerating to speeds that should have been impossible for their apparent configuration. Sofia's radar indicated they were now approaching Mach 2.5, a velocity that would put them in intercept position with the Iberia flight in less than 4 minutes. Sofia pushed her Typhoon into a steep dive, G-forces pressing her deep into her ejection seat as she fought to maintain visual contact with the lead aircraft. Her aircraft system screamed warnings about structural stress limits, but she ignored them. 312 innocent people were depending on her ability to stop whatever was about to happen. At 15,000 feet, the lead unknown aircraft suddenly pulled up and began climbing toward the civilian airliner's altitude. Sofia could see Iberia Flight 447 in the distance now, a white speck against the blue sky, completely unaware that death was approaching at twice the speed of sound. Sofia's finger moved to the weapon release trigger. She had never fired a missile in combat, had never taken a human life, had never been forced to make a split-second decision that would haunt her for the rest of her career. But as she watched the unknown aircraft close to within striking distance of the civilian plane, she realized that some moments demand action regardless of consequences. "I'm sorry, Captain Hernandez," she whispered into her dead radio, then selected the lead aircraft on her targeting system. The AM-120 AMRAAM missile bay opened with a mechanical click that Sofia felt through her seat. Her heads-up display showed a perfect firing solution range, 8 kilometers, target locked, no friendly aircraft in the engagement zone. Her thumb rested on the red trigger button that would send 150 pounds of high explosive toward an aircraft whose intentions remained unknown but whose actions spoke louder than any identification code. The lead aircraft was now 2,000 feet below the civilian airliner and climbing fast. Sofia had perhaps 10 seconds before the unknown pilot would be in position to attack the defenseless passenger plane. She took a deep breath, said a prayer for forgiveness, and pressed the trigger. the missile streaked away from her aircraft in a trail of white smoke, its guidance system locked onto the lead aircraft's heat signature. 8 seconds to impact. Sofia was already maneuvering to engage the second target when something extraordinary happened. The unknown aircraft didn't try to evade. Instead, it began transmitting on a frequency Sofia had never heard before, a complex pattern of electronic signals that her aircraft's computer couldn't interpret, but somehow felt familiar, like a half-remembered song. 3 seconds to impact, the transmission stopped, and Sofia realized with horror that she might have just made the worst mistake of her life. The AIM-12 OMRAM missile struck the lead aircraft with devastating precision, erupting in a brilliant orange fireball that bloomed against the azure sky like a deadly flower. Sofia watched through her helmet display as debris scattered in all directions, metallic fragments catching the sunlight as they tumbled toward the earth below. But something was wrong. The explosion looked different, too clean, too contained. Instead of the chaotic destruction Sofia expected from a direct missile hit, the fireball collapsed inward on itself, leaving behind only a shimmer in the air like heat distortion from hot asphalt. "What the hell?" Sofia whispered, her eyes fixed on the empty space where the aircraft had been. No wreckage was falling. No smoke trail marked its descent. It was as if the unknown aircraft had simply ceased to exist. The 2 remaining aircraft continued their approach toward Iberia Flight 447, now less than a kilometer from the civilian airliner. Sofia could see the passenger plane clearly, a white Airbus A330 with the distinctive red and yellow livery of the Spanish national carrier. Inside that aircraft, 312 people were reading newspapers, drinking coffee, and chatting with fellow passengers, completely unaware that their lives hung in the balance at 37,000 feet. Sofia banked hard right and selected the second aircraft on her targeting system. Her radar showed both remaining unknowns had altered course slightly, positioning themselves on either side of the civilian plane in what appeared to be a flanking maneuver. Whatever their intentions, they were running out of time to execute them. "This is Phoenix 27 to any aircraft on this frequency," Sofia transmitted desperately, hoping someone might hear her through the electromagnetic interference. "We have hostile aircraft approaching civilian traffic at 37,000 feet. Iberia Flight 447, if you can hear this, execute immediate evasive maneuvers." Static answered her. The jamming was complete, isolating her from all ground control and air traffic management. She was alone in the sky with 2 unknown aircraft whose capabilities far exceeded anything in her experience. The second aircraft suddenly accelerated toward the civilian plane, closing the distance with impossible speed. Sofia fired her second AMRAAM without hesitation, watching the missile streak toward its target. This time, she was ready for what happened next. The unknown aircraft seemed to phase shift just before impact, its solid form becoming translucent. The missile passed completely through it as if firing at a ghost, continuing harmlessly into empty sky until its fuel was exhausted and it fell toward the mountains below. Impossible, Sofia breathed, her tactical training struggling to process what she had just witnessed. Aircraft don't become transparent. Physics doesn't work that way. Yet she had seen it with her own eyes, recorded on her aircraft's targeting cameras for later analysis. If she survived to deliver it, the second aircraft solidified again and moved into formation with the civilian airliner, positioning itself directly beneath the passenger plane's fuselage. From Sofia's angle, she could see both aircraft clearly silhouetted against the brilliant morning sun. The unknown craft was scanning the Airbus with some form of energy beam, a faint blue glow emanating from ports along its wing edges. Sofia armed her cannon and close to gun range, her Typhoon's 27mm Mauser automatically calculating firing solutions. Unlike missiles, bullets couldn't pass through solid matter, or so she hoped. At 800 meters, she squeezed the trigger, Sending a stream of high explosive rounds toward the unknown aircraft. The rounds struck home, sparking off the mysterious aircraft's hull in showers of light. But instead of causing damage, each impact seemed to energize the unknown craft. Its blue scanning beam intensified, and Sofia watched in amazement as the energy somehow transferred to the civilian airliner's engines. That's when she understood. These weren't hostile aircraft. They weren't attacking the passenger plane. They were helping it. Sofia's radar warning receiver suddenly came alive with urgent tones. Her tactical display showed 8 new contacts approaching from the South fighter. Aircraft climbing rapidly toward their position. IFF transponders identified them as Spanish Air Force FA-18 Hornets, probably scrambled from Torrejon Air Base. Captain Hernandez had finally decided to send backup, but backup for what? To engage the unknown aircraft that were apparently assisting civilian traffic? Or to stop Sofia from interfering with an operation she clearly didn't understand? The lead FA-18 appeared on Sofia's radio frequency, the signal clear and strong. Now that her aircraft had moved away from the source of electromagnetic interference. Phoenix 27, this is Falcon Lead. You are ordered to disengage immediately and return to base. Do not engage the unidentified aircraft. Repeat, do not engage. Sofia looked at her fuel gauge enough for perhaps 20 more minutes of combat. Operations. Her weapons status showed 1 AIM-9 Sidewinder remaining, plus whatever cannon ammunition she hadn't expended on her futile attack. Falcon Lead. The unknown aircraft are in direct proximity to civilian traffic. If they're hostile, Phoenix 27, the unknown aircraft are not hostile. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. This is your final warning. Sofia stared at her tactical display, trying to piece together what was happening. The unknown aircraft continued their energy transfer to the civilian airliner, which was now climbing steadily and accelerating beyond its normal operational parameters. Whatever technology they were sharing, it was giving the passenger plane capabilities far beyond its original design. The third unknown aircraft, the one that had remained in the background during the initial engagement, suddenly appeared on Sofia's 6 o'clock position. Her radar warning receiver screamed as targeting systems locked onto her Typhoon from behind. Sofia had a choice: obey orders and withdraw, leaving 312 civilian passengers in the hands of aircraft whose true purpose remained unclear, or continue to engage despite being outnumbered, outgunned, and apparently outmatched by technology that defied everything she understood about aerial combat. She chose to fight. Sofia pulled her Typhoon into a vertical climb, afterburners screaming as she tried to escape the targeting lock from the third unknown aircraft. G-forces crushed her into her seat as the fighter clawed for altitude, but the mysterious craft behind her matched her maneuver effortlessly, staying locked onto her 6 o'clock position like a shadow. Brake left. Brake left. Sofia's training kicked in as she executed a high G barrel roll, hoping to force an overshoot. The unknown aircraft followed her through the maneuver with impossible precision, its sleek form cutting through the air without any visible effort or strain. At 45,000 feet, Sofia's engines began to lose power in the thin atmosphere. The unknown aircraft continued climbing, apparently unaffected by the altitude that was pushing her Typhoon to its operational limits. Sofia realized with growing dread that she was being deliberately herded higher, away from the civilian airliner and the approaching Spanish fighters. Why are you doing this? She transmitted on all frequencies, hoping the unknown pilot might respond. If you're trying to help that passenger plane, why are you targeting me? The answer came not through her radio, but directly into her mind. Sofia felt the words form in her consciousness without passing through her ears, a sensation so alien and unexpected that she nearly lost control of her aircraft. Because you're preventing us from saving them. Sofia's hands trembled on the control. Stick, who are you? What do you want with that airliner? Look at your radar, Sofia Reyes. Look carefully. The use of her name sent chills down Sofia's spine. But she obeyed, focusing on her tactical display. What she saw made no sense at first. 8 additional contacts approaching from the northeast. But these weren't showing IFF codes from any known military. Their radar signatures were identical to the original 3 unknown aircraft. There are more of you, she whispered. There have always been more of us. The question is whether your species is ready to know we exist. Sofia's mind raced as she processed the implications. You're not human. We are what humans may become, given time and wisdom, but that time is running short. The airliner you're trying to protect carries more than passengers, Sofia Reyes. It carries a biological weapon that will kill millions if it reaches its destination. That's impossible. Iberia Flight 447 is a scheduled commercial flight from Madrid to Lisbon. Check your aircraft's chemical sensors. Analyze the atmospheric readings from your close approach to the passenger plane. Sofia activated her aircraft's environmental monitoring system, something she had never used in combat. The readings that appeared on her secondary display made her blood run cold. Trace amounts of an unknown compound were present in the air around the civilian airliner, something that shouldn't exist in normal atmospheric conditions. The weapon was loaded aboard the aircraft during ground operations. In Madrid, your Captain Hernandez received intelligence about the threat 3 hours ago. That's why he ordered you away from the intercept. Your government intended to let the aircraft reach Portuguese airspace before destroying it, blaming the loss on mechanical failure. You're lying, Sofia said, but doubt crept into her voice. Hernandez's behavior during the briefing suddenly made more sense. The evasive answers, the insistence on avoiding the radar contacts, the immediate order to return to base when she reported the unknown aircraft. We are not lying. We are trying to prevent a catastrophe that your governments cannot stop without causing an international incident. 312 innocent people will die either way, but our intervention can neutralize the biological weapon without harming the passengers. Sofia looked down at the ongoing energy transfer between the 2 unknown aircraft and the civilian airliner. The passenger plane was now flying at an altitude and speed that should have been impossible for its design, but somehow it remained stable and controllable. What are you doing to them? We are modifying their aircraft's life support systems to neutralize the biological agent. The passengers will experience nothing more than a brief period of unconsciousness while their air supply is purified. When they wake, they will have no memory of this encounter, and they will land safely in Lisbon, carrying nothing more dangerous than their luggage. Sofia's radio crackled to life as the Spanish fighters closed to within visual range. Phoenix 2-7, you have 10 seconds to disengage, or we will consider you hostile. Sofia stared at her weapons display. 1 AIM-9 Sidewinder, limited cannon ammunition. 8 unknown aircraft with technology that rendered conventional weapons useless. And 312 innocent passengers whose lives hung in the balance of a decision that would define not just her career, but potentially the future of human contact with something beyond their understanding. If I let you complete this intervention, what happens next? That depends on you, Sofia Reyes. You are the first human pilot to engage us in combat and live. You have seen our capabilities and our intentions. You must decide whether your species is ready for contact or whether this encounter remains classified in your government's secret files. The Spanish fighters were now within missile range. Sofia could see their weapons bays opening, AIM-120 missiles preparing for launch. In less than 30 seconds, she would be caught between 2 forces, each claiming to act in humanity's best interests. Sofia closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and made a choice that would change everything. She turned off her targeting system and opened a channel to the approaching Spanish fighters. Falcon lead, this is Phoenix 2-7. I am standing down. The unknown aircraft are not hostile. Repeat. They are not hostile. The silence that followed Sofia's transmission seemed to stretch for an eternity. 8 Spanish FSA-18 Hornets maintained their formation at 35,000 feet, weapons armed and targeting systems locked onto both Sofia's Typhoon and the unknown aircraft surrounding the civilian airliner. In the crystalline morning air, she could see the lead Hornet's pilot through his canopy, his helmet turning as he processed her unexpected declaration. "Phoenix 2-7, repeat your last transmission," came the terse reply from Falcon Lead. "Did you just declare unknown aircraft non-hostile?" Sofia looked down at the ongoing operation below her. The 2 unknown aircraft had positioned themselves in perfect symmetry around Iberia Flight 447, their blue energy beams now forming a complete envelope around the passenger plane. Through her aircraft's enhanced optics, she could see that the Hofdieck's civilian airliner's windows had taken on a faint luminescent quality, as if the entire aircraft was being bathed in some form of purifying light. Falcon Lead, affirmative. The unknown aircraft are conducting a humanitarian operation. They are neutralizing a biological weapon aboard the civilian flight. The response was immediate and hostile. Phoenix 2-7, you are not authorized to make tactical assessments. You will disengage immediately and return to base for debriefing. That is a direct order from General Rodriguez himself. Sofia felt her heart sink. General Rodriguez was the commander of the entire Spanish air defense network, a man whose authority extended far beyond Captain Hernandez's jurisdiction. If Rodriguez was personally involved, the situation had escalated to the highest levels of government. The voice in her mind returned, calmer now but tinged with urgency. Your leaders know the truth about the biological weapon, Sofia Reyes. They chose to sacrifice 300 innocent lives rather than risk diplomatic relations with Portugal. We cannot allow that to happen. Why should I trust you? Sofia subvocalized, knowing somehow that the alien pilot would hear her thoughts, because we have nothing to gain from deception. Your governments fear our existence becoming public knowledge. They would rather destroy evidence than admit they are not alone in the universe. On her tactical display, Sofia watched as the Spanish fighters began to spread into an attack formation. Falcon Lead was positioning for a missile shot at the nearest unknown aircraft, while his wingmen prepared to engage the craft, maintaining the energy field around the passenger plane. Sofia's radio crackled again, this time with a new voice, older, harder, carrying the unmistakable authority of high command. "Lieutenant Reyes, this is General Rodriguez. You are ordered to withdraw immediately from the engagement zone. The unknown aircraft will be destroyed in 60 seconds, regardless of your position. General, sir, if you destroy them now, the biological weapon will remain active. The passengers are acceptable losses, Lieutenant. The potential threat to national security from these unknown aircraft takes precedence. You have 45 seconds to clear the engagement zone." Sofia stared at her fuel gauge enough for perhaps 15 more minutes of flight time. Her weapons display showed 1 AIM-9 Sidewinder and minimal cannon ammunition. Against 8 Spanish fighters and potentially more unknown aircraft, she was utterly outmatched. But 312 innocent people were depending on a process she barely understood, guided by beings whose existence challenged everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. "General Rodriguez, I respectfully refuse to withdraw." The silence that followed was deafening. In 30 years of military service, Sofia had never heard of a pilot directly refusing a general's order during active combat operations. Court-martial was inevitable. Imprisonment was likely. Her career was over. Thank you. Sofia Reyes. The unknown aircraft surrounding the civilian airliner suddenly intensified their energy output. The blue beams became brilliant white columns of light that seemed to reach from earth to sky. Through her helmet display, Sofia could see the passenger plane's hull beginning to glow with the same radiance. "All aircraft weapons free. General Rodriguez's voice cut through the radio chatter. Engage all unknown contacts immediately. The first missile launched from Falcon Lead's aircraft. An AIM-12 ON-RAM streaking toward the nearest unknown craft. Sofia watched in fascination as the alien vessel simply phased out of existence again, allowing the missile to pass harmlessly through empty air. But this time, something different happened. The unknown aircraft didn't return to solid form. Instead, it seemed to split into multiple energy signatures, each one appearing on Sofia's radar as a separate contact. Within seconds, what had been one aircraft became 5, then 10, then 20 distinct targets. What the hell is happening? Falcon Lead's voice carried panic as his targeting system struggled to lock onto the multiplying contacts. Sofia understood. The unknown aircraft weren't just technologically advanced. They operated according to physics that human science hadn't yet discovered. They could manipulate matter and energy in ways that made conventional weapons not just ineffective. Irrelevant. The energy envelope around Iberia Flight 447 reached maximum intensity. Through her radio, Sofia could hear fragments of Portuguese air traffic control, trying to raise the civilian aircraft on emergency frequencies. The passenger plane had gone completely silent, its transponder showing normal flight parameters, but no response to radio calls. The process is nearly complete, the voice in Sofia's mind explained. The passengers are in suspended animation while we neutralize the biological agent. They will wake up safely in 30 minutes with no memory of this encounter. And then what? Sofia asked, watching as more Spanish missiles passed uselessly through. The phasing unknown aircraft. That depends on what your government chooses to do with the knowledge of our existence. We had hoped to remain hidden for several more of your decades, but the biological weapon forced our intervention. On her radar, Sofia saw something that made her blood run cold. 4 more contacts approaching from the south, but these weren't Spanish fighters. The radar signatures matched Russian-made aircraft, probably Sukhoi Su-35s. Behind them, another group of contacts that looked like American F-22 Raptors. General Rodriguez, Sofia transmitted urgently. We have multiple foreign aircraft approaching the engagement zone. This situation is about to become an international incident. Lieutenant Reyes, you are ordered to. The transmission cut off abruptly as every radio frequency went silent. The electromagnetic interference had returned, but this time it felt different, more controlled, more purposeful. Sofia realized that the unknown aircraft had just isolated the entire engagement zone from outside. Communication. Whatever was about to happen next, the rest of the world wouldn't know about it until the alien visitors decided to let them know. The communication blackout created an eerie silence across all radio frequencies, broken only by the steady hum of jet engines and the whistle of wind across Sofia's canopy. 8 Spanish fighters, 4 Russian aircraft, and 3 American F-22 Raptors now circled the engagement zone like predators waiting for an opportunity to strike. Their targeting systems rendered useless by the electromagnetic interference. Sofia watched through her heads-up display as the international aircraft arranged themselves into a loose perimeter around the unknown craft and the civilian airliner. Each nation's fighters maintained careful separation, but she could see missile bay doors open and weapon systems armed. What had begun as a routine patrol had escalated into a potential shooting war between 3 major powers. The voice in her mind returned, now carrying a tone of deep concern. This is what we sought to avoid, Sofia Reyes. Your species' first instinct when confronted with the unknown is to prepare for battle. You can't blame us for being defensive, Sofia replied mentally. You appear without warning, jam our communications, and interfere with civilian aircraft. What did you expect? We expected fear, but we hoped for wisdom. Through her aircraft's optics, Sofia could see the energy envelope around Iberia Flight 447 beginning to fade. the brilliant white beams that had surrounded the passenger plane for the last 10 minutes were gradually diminishing in intensity, revealing the Airbus A330, flying steady and level at 39,000 feet, an altitude that should have been impossible for its type. The lead Russian aircraft, a Sukhoi Su-35 with distinctive red stars on its wings, had positioned itself to intercept the civilian airliner's flight path. Sofia realized with growing alarm that the Russians might be planning to force the passenger plane to land on their territory, potentially triggering a diplomatic crisis that could escalate far beyond this single incident. "We need to get those passengers safely to Portugal," Sofia transmitted, hoping the unknown aircraft could still hear her despite the communication blackout. "If any of these military forces intercept that airliner, it will create an international incident. The passengers are safe. The biological weapon has been neutralized. But you are correct about the international implications. Your governments will demand explanations we cannot provide without revealing our existence to your entire species." One of the American F-22 Raptors suddenly accelerated toward the nearest unknown aircraft, its pilot apparently deciding to test whether conventional tactics could succeed where missiles had failed. Sofia watched as the Raptor closed to gun range and opened fire with its 20mm cannon, sending a stream of depleted uranium rounds toward the alien craft. The unknown aircraft didn't phase out this time. Instead, it absorbed the incoming rounds like a sponge soaking up water. Each impact created a brief flash of light across its hull, but instead of causing damage, the energy seemed to strengthen the craft's defensive fields. The F-22 pilot apparently realized his mistake too late. His aircraft suddenly lost power, all engine noise ceasing as the fighter entered an uncontrolled glide. Sofia could see the pilot fighting his controls, trying to restart engines that had been somehow drained of energy by the alien craft's defensive systems. "We do not wish to harm your pilots," the voice explained, "but we cannot allow them to interfere with the completion of our mission." "What mission?" "You said you neutralized the biological weapon. That was only the first phase. The weapon was created by a group that operates beyond your government's knowledge or control. They have other aircraft, other delivery systems. We must locate and neutralize them all before they can be deployed." Sofia felt a chill run down her spine. "You're talking about terrorists with biological weapons? We are talking about humans who have acquired technology they do not understand, provided by others who seek to destabilize your civilization. The biological weapon aboard the airliner was merely a test of their delivery capabilities." The disabled F-22 Raptor suddenly came back to life, its engines restarting with a roar that Sofia could hear even through her pressurized cockpit. The American pilot immediately pulled away from the unknown aircraft, apparently having learned the futility of conventional engagement. On her radar, Sofia noticed that Iberia Flight 447 had begun a gentle descent toward its original flight path to Lisbon. The energy envelope was now completely gone, and the passenger plane appeared to be flying normally again. If not for the international military aircraft surrounding it, the airliner would seem to be just another civilian flight. "The passengers are awakening now," the voice informed her. They experienced what they will remember as a brief period of turbulence. Their aircraft's flight data recorders show nothing unusual. As far as official records are concerned, this incident never happened. "But it did happen," Sofia insisted. "Dozens of military pilots have seen your aircraft. Radar stations across 3 countries have tracked this engagement. You can't just erase evidence on this scale." "Watch." Sofia's radar display suddenly went blank. Not the gradual fading of signal that indicated equipment failure, but an instantaneous transition from multiple contacts to empty sky. She looked around, frantically searching for the unknown aircraft, the international fighters, even the civilian airliner. They were gone. All of them. Sofia found herself alone in crystal-clear morning sky, her fuel gauge showing critical levels, her weapons expended. Her radio crackling back to life with normal air traffic control chatter. Phoenix 2-7, this is Valderas Control, came Captain Hernandez's voice, calm and professional. Request your position and status for return to base. Sofia stared at her instruments, trying to process what had just happened. According to her aircraft's navigation system, she had been on routine patrol for 3 hours and 47 minutes. Her mission recorder showed nothing unusual. Standard flight patterns, normal radio communications, no weapons fired, but her memory remained intact. She remembered every detail of the encounter, every conversation with the unknown aircraft, every moment of the international crisis that had just disappeared. Valderas Control, this is Phoenix 2-7. I'm experiencing some confusion about my mission parameters. Request immediate debriefing upon landing. Copy, Phoenix 2-7. Are you experiencing any medical emergency? Sofia looked at her hands, still trembling slightly from the adrenaline of combat that officially never happened. Negative, Control. But I think we need to talk. Sofia's Typhoon touched down on Valderas Air Base's main runway with a gentle thud. The familiar sensation of wheels meeting concrete, grounding her in reality after an experience that defied all logic. As she taxied toward the hangar, she could see the normal bustle of base operations, ground crews servicing aircraft, maintenance personnel conducting routine inspections, pilots walking between buildings with the casual confidence of those whose biggest concern was weekend leave schedules. Everything appeared exactly as it should be, which somehow made it infinitely more unsettling. Sofia shut down her engines and remained in the cockpit for several long minutes, staring at her instrument panel. According to every system on her aircraft, she had completed a routine 4-hour patrol with no incidents worth noting. Her weapons bay showed full ammunition loads. Her fuel consumption matched the logged flight time perfectly. Even her aircraft's black box recorder would show nothing more than standard training maneuvers and radio check-ins, but the taste of adrenaline still lingered in her mouth, and her flight suit was damp with sweat that had nothing to do with the comfortable October weather. Elena Vasquez approached the aircraft as Sofia finally opened her canopy, carrying her usual post-flight inspection checklist. The maintenance chief's weathered face showed no sign of concern or curiosity, just the professional focus of someone who had serviced thousands of returning aircraft. How'd she run today, Lieutenant? Elena asked, beginning her visual inspection of the Typhoon's exterior. Sofia climbed down from the cockpit, her legs unsteady in a way that had nothing to do with physical fatigue. Elena, do you remember mentioning electromagnetic interference in the avionics bay this morning? Elena paused, her hand resting on the aircraft's wing. Electromagnetic interference? No, ma'am. Systems have been running clean all week. Why? Did you experience some kind of malfunction? Sofia stared at the maintenance chief. Elena's expression was genuinely puzzled, not the careful blankness of someone trying to conceal information. She truly didn't remember their conversation about the unusual frequency patterns she had detected. Never mind, Sofia said quietly. Just thought I felt something odd during the flight. 20 minutes later, Sofia sat across from Captain Hernandez in the base commander's office. A sterile room decorated with photographs of aircraft and framed commendations that spoke of a career built on steady competence rather than dramatic heroics. Hernandez studied her post-flight report with the methodical attention to detail that had made him a respected squadron leader. Your report mentions unusual atmospheric conditions during the patrol, he said, looking up from the documents. Can you be more specific? Sofia chose her words carefully. Sir, I observed some irregular cloud formations and possible weather phenomena that didn't match the meteorological briefing. I thought it might be worth noting for future flight planning. Hernandez nodded, making a notation in his own logbook. October weather can be unpredictable in the mountains. Good catch, Lieutenant. Anything else unusual during the flight? No, sir. Routine patrol. No contacts, no incidents. Excellent. Your next scheduled flight is Thursday morning, weather permitting. Any issues with aircraft systems or equipment? Sofia felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. Captain Hernandez wasn't pretending not to remember the morning's events. He genuinely had no recollection of ordering her to disengage from unknown aircraft, of the emergency scramble of 8 fighters, of the international crisis that had brought Russian and American aircraft into Spanish airspace. The official timeline in his memory showed a peaceful morning with routine operations and no incidents worth documenting. Sir, may I ask about the intelligence briefing regarding radar anomalies near the Portuguese border? Hernandez frowned slightly. What radar anomalies? Our intelligence summary for today showed normal civilian traffic patterns and no unusual activity in any sector. Sofia excused herself from the debriefing as quickly as professional courtesy allowed, then walked directly to the base library where she accessed the morning's intelligence reports on a secure terminal. Every document she reviewed showed exactly what Captain Hernandez had described: normal operations, routine patrols, no unusual activity. But she remembered every detail of her encounter with beings who could manipulate matter and energy in ways that human science couldn't explain. She remembered the voice in her mind, the revelation about biological weapons, the international military response that had nearly triggered a shooting war. Most importantly, she remembered making a choice to trust something beyond human understanding. A decision that had apparently saved 312 innocent lives, while preventing a terrorist attack that could have killed millions. That evening, Sofia sat in her small apartment off base, staring at a blank piece of paper with a pen in her hand. She wanted to write down everything she could remember about the encounter, to create some form of record that couldn't be erased or altered. But as she began to write, doubt crept into her mind. What if the entire experience had been some form of hallucination brought on by stress or fatigue? What if her brain had simply created an elaborate fantasy to process the routine boredom of patrol duty? Military pilots were subject to psychological pressures that could manifest in unexpected ways, but her hands remembered the feel of the control stick during high-G maneuvers. Her ears remembered the sound of missile launches and targeting system warnings. Her heart remembered the moment she chose to disobey direct orders from General Rodriguez himself. As Sofia sat alone with her memories, she began to understand the elegant simplicity of what had happened. The unknown aircraft hadn't just saved civilian lives and prevented a terrorist attack. They had done so while ensuring that human governments could continue to operate without the destabilizing knowledge that they were not alone in the universe. Every pilot involved in the incident would remember nothing. Every radar operator would find clean records. Every government official would have no awareness that their carefully constructed understanding of international security had been quietly and efficiently protected by beings whose technology made human military capabilities look like children's toys. Only Sofia remembered, and she was beginning to understand why. The voice returned to her mind for the last time, gentle and reassuring. You were chosen not just for your skill as a pilot, but for your ability to carry knowledge that cannot be shared. Some truths must be held by individuals rather than institutions. Sofia set down her pen without writing a single word. Some secrets were too important to risk, even to paper. 3 weeks passed before Sofia fully understood the weight of what she carried. The world continued its normal course. Terrorist threats were reported and investigated through conventional channels. International relations proceeded without mention of mysterious aircraft encounters, and Iberia Flight 447 completed its journey to Lisbon, with passengers who remembered nothing more remarkable than mild turbulence over the Spanish mountains. Sofia maintained her regular flight schedule, completing routine patrols and training exercises with professional competence that earned praise from her superiors. Captain Hernandez noted in her quarterly evaluation that she had become more focused and mature in her approach to military service, showing the kind of steady reliability that marked potential command material. But privately, Sofia felt the isolation that comes with possessing knowledge too dangerous to share. She found herself studying faces during briefings, wondering if any other pilot had experienced similar encounters and been sworn to the same terrible silence. She searched news reports for any hint of unusual aviation incidents, electromagnetic anomalies, or unexplained atmospheric phenomena. She found nothing, which somehow confirmed everything. The first test of her resolve came during a squadron meeting. In early November, when a young pilot named Lieutenant Carlos Mendez described what he called the strangest thing during a training flight near the Portuguese border. "I swear I saw aircraft flying in formation that weren't on any flight plan," Carlos said, his voice carrying the uncertain tone of someone unsure whether to trust his own observations. "Sleek, unusual design, moving faster than anything I've ever seen." The room fell silent. Sofia felt every eye in the briefing room turn toward her, though she knew it was probably just her own heightened awareness. Captain Hernandez leaned forward slightly, his expression professionally neutral but attentive. "Atmospheric conditions can create unusual visual effects, especially near mountain ranges," Sofia heard herself saying. "Thermal layers, light refraction, temperature inversions. They can make civilian aircraft appear to be moving at impossible speeds or in impossible formations." Carlos nodded gratefully, clearly relieved to have a rational explanation for what he had observed. "That makes sense. I was flying at altitude change intervals, so thermal effects would be more pronounced." Sofia watched the young pilot's face relax as he accepted her explanation. She had just participated in the same kind of cover-up that had erased her own encounter, and the ease with which she had done it disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. After the meeting, Sofia walked alone to the memorial wall where Ella Keene's name had once been carved, though she was the only person who remembered that particular inscription. The wall now bore different names: pilots lost in training accidents and operational missions, each representing a family's grief and a service member's sacrifice. Sofia placed her hand against the cool stone and wondered if she would eventually join those names, not through combat or accident, but through the simple weight of carrying secrets too large for one person to bear. "You're thinking too much, Lieutenant." Sofia turned to find Dr. Carmen Ruiz, the base psychologist, approaching with a coffee cup in her hands and the kind of gentle expression that mental health professionals used when they sensed someone in distress. "Just reflecting, ma'am," Sofia replied. "Sometimes military service requires ... perspective." Dr. Ruiz studied Sofia's face with the practiced eye of someone trained to read subtle signs of psychological stress. "You've seemed more introspective lately. Quieter during social interactions. Is everything all right?" Sofia felt a moment of vertigo as she considered how easily she could unburden herself. Dr. Ruiz was bound by medical confidentiality, trained to help service members process traumatic experiences, equipped with resources to address everything from combat stress to family problems. But she was also a human being whose understanding of reality operated within certain comfortable parameters. The knowledge Sofia carried would either be dismissed as delusion or believed with consequences that could destabilize Dr. Ruiz's entire worldview. "I've been thinking about the nature of service," Sofia said carefully. "About the things we do that can't be recognized or acknowledged publicly. How do you process experiences that can't be shared?" Dr. Ruiz's expression softened with understanding. "Classified operations can create a unique form of isolation, especially for personnel who serve in roles that require operational security. The inability to process experiences through normal social channels can lead to what we call witness burden, the psychological weight of carrying significant experiences alone. Witness burden, Sofia repeated. The term fit perfectly. The key is finding healthy ways to process the emotional content of experiences without compromising operational security. Meditation, physical exercise, creative expression always. To honor the significance of what you've experienced without violating the trust placed in you. Sofia nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief. Dr. Ruiz couldn't know the specific details of Sofia's burden, but she understood its nature better than anyone else on the base. That night, Sofia began a new routine. Instead of trying to document her encounter with the unknown aircraft, she started a journal focused on the emotional and philosophical aspects of her experience. She wrote about the nature of choice in impossible circumstances, about trust extended across species barriers, about the responsibility that comes with being chosen to bear witness to events that reshape understanding of humanity's place in the universe. She wrote about the loneliness of being the only person who remembered 312 passengers whose lives had been saved by beings whose existence could never be acknowledged. She wrote about the weight of knowing that terrorist cells possessed biological weapons, while being unable to share that intelligence through normal channels. Most importantly, she wrote about the strange peace that came with accepting her role as a bridge between two realities, the comfortable world where humans believe themselves alone in the universe, and the larger truth where Earth was watched and occasionally protected by intelligences that operated according to principles beyond current human comprehension. Sofia Reyes had been chosen not just for her skill as a pilot, but for her capacity to carry knowledge without being crushed by its weight. She was a truth-bearer in a world that wasn't ready for the truth, and she would guard that responsibility for as long as necessary, even if it meant spending the rest of her career as the pilot who saw things that officially never happened, who saved lives that were never in danger, who made first contact with beings that didn't exist. It was a small price to pay for knowing that 312 innocent people had gone home safely to their families, and that somewhere in the vast sky, guardians watched over humanity with patience and wisdom that exceeded their own. 5 months after the incident that officially never happened, Sofia was leading a routine training flight with 2 junior pilots when her aircraft's electromagnetic sensors began detecting the same unusual patterns Elena Vasquez had noticed. That October morning, the readings were subtle, barely registering above background noise, but Sofia's enhanced awareness made her instantly alert to anything that deviated from normal parameters. Phoenix lead, this is Phoenix 3, came the voice of Lieutenant Ana Torres, a recent academy graduate flying her 10th operational mission. I'm getting some weird readings on my electronics. Navigation system keeps flickering. Sofia checked her own instruments and found similar anomalies spreading across multiple systems. But unlike her fellow pilots, she understood what the interference meant. They were not alone in the sky. Phoenix flight, maintain formation and continue current heading, Sofia transmitted, her voice carefully neutral despite the anticipation building in her chest. We're probably experiencing some solar activity affecting our electronics. Through her helmet display, Sofia scanned the cloudless February sky. The weather was perfect, unlimited visibility, light winds, the kind of conditions that made flying feel like soaring through crystal. At 28,000 feet over the Cantabrian Mountains, they were the only aircraft visible for hundreds of kilometers. Then she saw them. 3 sleek forms emerged from what appeared to be empty air, materializing like mirages becoming solid. The unknown aircraft took positions in a loose triangle formation around Sofia's flight, their movements so smooth and precise, they seemed to flow rather than fly through the atmosphere. Phoenix lead, are you seeing this? Lieutenant Torres's voice carried a mixture of awe and concern. We have company. Sofia's radio crackled as the second junior pilot, Lieutenant Miguel Santos, confirmed the sighting. 3 unidentified aircraft. Configuration unknown. They just appeared. Sofia felt the familiar presence in her mind, the voice that had spoken to her during that October encounter. "Hello again, Sofia Reyes. We hoped you would be flying today." "Why?" Sofia asked mentally, maintaining formation while her 2 wingmen struggled to process what they were seeing. "Because we need to speak with others of your kind. You have proven trustworthy, but one person cannot bridge the gap between species. Alone. We need more humans who can understand our purpose." As Sofia glanced at her tactical display, noting that her weapon systems were armed per standard training protocols. But unlike 5 months ago, she felt no impulse to engage the unknown aircraft. Her training flight had just become something far more significant. "Phoenix 2 and 3, maintain formation and do not take any aggressive action," Sofia transmitted. "These aircraft are not hostile." "Phoenix lead, how can you be certain?" Lieutenant Santos asked, his voice tight with the stress of encountering something beyond his training parameters. Sofia considered her answer carefully. These young pilots were about to experience something that would challenge every assumption they held about humanity's place in the universe. How she handled the next few minutes would determine whether they became allies in carrying cosmic secrets or psychological casualties of contact with the unknown. "Because I've encountered them before," she said simply. The silence that followed was broken only by the steady hum of jet engines and the whisper of wind across their canopies. Sofia could imagine the thoughts racing through her wingmen's minds, questions about classified operations, secret military programs, technology that exceeded anything in their textbooks. The lead unknown aircraft moved closer to Sofia's Typhoon, close enough that she could see details of its construction that had been invisible during her previous encounter. The hull seemed to shift between metallic and translucent states, as if it existed partially in their dimension and partially somewhere else. Strange symbols glowed along its wing edges, not written language as humans understood it, but patterns that somehow conveyed meaning directly to the observer's mind. "Your companions are frightened," the voice observed. "This is natural. But they possess qualities we value: courage, dedication, the ability to make difficult choices under pressure." "What do you want from them?" "The same thing we wanted from you. Understanding, acceptance, cooperation when the need arises." Sofia watched as the 2 junior pilots maintained perfect formation despite their obvious stress. Both Torres and Santos were products of rigorous military training, selected for pilot programs based on psychological profiles that emphasize stability under pressure and adaptability to unexpected situations. If anyone could handle first contact with non-human intelligence, it would be pilots like these. "Phoenix 2 and 3, I need you to listen carefully," Sofia transmitted. "What you're seeing today is classified at levels that don't exist in normal military doctrine. You will be asked to carry knowledge that cannot be shared through conventional channels." "Phoenix lead, are these aircraft not human?" Lieutenant Torres asked, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the question. "No, they are not human. But they are not enemies. They've been protecting Earth from threats we don't even know exist." The unknown aircraft began a slow, graceful turn that Sofia's flight automatically matched. The aliens were leading them somewhere, and Sofia realized this was not a chance encounter. It was a planned introduction, the next step in a process that had begun with her solitary contact 5 months earlier. "There is a facility hidden in the mountains ahead," the voice explained. "A place where your governments and ours have maintained contact for many years. Today, you will learn that the truth is larger than even you understood." Sofia felt her world shift again, just as it had during her first encounter with the unknown aircraft. She had thought herself the sole human witness to alien contact, but apparently that was only part of a much larger story. "Phoenix flight, we're being escorted to a classified location," Sofia announced. "From this point forward, everything you See and hear is subject to absolute operational security. Do you understand? Both junior pilots acknowledged, their voices carrying the weight of oaths taken and responsibilities accepted. They were no longer simply pilots on a training mission. They had become participants in humanity's most closely guarded secret. As the 6 aircraft, 3 human, 3 alien flew toward a mountain range that looked empty from the air, but apparently held secrets beyond Sofia's imagination. She realized her role as a solitary truth-bearer was about to evolve into something far more complex. The hidden facility appeared as they crested the final ridge of the Sierra de Guadarrama, emerging from what Sofia's eyes insisted was solid rock face. Advanced holographic camouflage dissolved to reveal a complex of buildings and aircraft hangars. Built into the mountainside, protected by natural barriers and technology that made it invisible to satellite surveillance, Sofia counted at least a dozen aircraft on the ground, some recognizably human designs including modified F-35s and Eurofighters, others clearly of alien origin. Personnel moved between the aircraft with the practiced efficiency of a fully operational base. But even from altitude, Sofia could see that roughly half the figures weren't human. "Mother of God," Lieutenant Torres whispered over the radio. "How long has this been here?" The voice in Sofia's mind carried what she interpreted as amusement. "Your government established this facility in 1987, shortly after our first official contact with human leadership. We have been working together ever since." Sofia felt a strange mixture of relief and betrayal as she processed this revelation. Relief that she hadn't been carrying humanity's greatest secret alone. Betrayal that the isolation she had endured was unnecessary. But as they approached the facility's landing strips, she began to understand the complexity of the situation. The 3 alien aircraft led Sofia's flight to a designated landing area where ground crews, both human and alien, waited to service their aircraft. As Sofia shut down her engines, she could see Captain Hernandez walking across the tarmac toward them, his face showing none of the confusion she expected from someone whose memory had been altered. "Welcome to Meridian Station," Hernandez said, as Sofia climbed down from her cockpit. "I know this is overwhelming, but you're about to understand why certain truths must be compartmentalized." Sofia stared at her commanding officer, processing the implications. "You remember everything, don't you? The October incident, the international crisis, all of it." "I remember all of it because I was the one who arranged it," Hernandez replied. "Your encounter with the biological weapon threat was a test, Sofia. We needed to know if you could handle the psychological pressure of carrying classified knowledge without compromising operational security." Lieutenant Torres and Lieutenant Santos stood beside their aircraft, their faces showing the kind of shock that comes from having fundamental assumptions about reality suddenly overturned. A figure approached them, tall, graceful, clearly not human despite wearing what appeared to be a modified flight suit. The being's features were elegant rather than alien in the blah. Hollywood sense elongated limbs, large dark eyes that seemed to hold depths of intelligence and compassion, skin that shifted color subtly as emotions changed. When it spoke, the words came directly into their minds rather than through the air. "I am Kethver, Senior Coordinator for Human Altair Joint Operations. You have been selected for expanded awareness because your psychological profile suggests you can contribute meaningfully to our shared mission." "Shared mission?" Sofia asked, still struggling to process the scale of what she was learning. Captain Hernandez gestured toward the complex of buildings carved into the mountainside. "The biological weapon threat you helped neutralize was just one of dozens we've stopped over the last 15 years. There are human factions that have acquired alien technology through unauthorized contacts, and they're using it to develop weapons that could destabilize global civilization." As they walked toward the main facility, Sofia observed the seamless integration of human and alien personnel. Technicians from both species worked together on aircraft modifications, their different anatomies and perspectives, apparently complementing each other perfectly. In one hangar, she could see a Eurofighter being fitted with technology that made its systems glow with soft blue light. "Your species stands at a crucial threshold," Keffer explained as they entered the main briefing complex. "You possess the technological capability to destroy yourselves, but also the potential to join a larger community of civilizations. Our role is to prevent the former while encouraging the latter." The briefing room was designed to accommodate both human and alien physiology, with adjustable seating and display systems that projected information directly into the observers' minds rather than relying solely on visual presentations. Sofia found herself looking at threat assessments that showed a complex web of terrorist organizations, rogue states, and criminal syndicates that had acquired alien technology through various means. Some of these contacts were authorized, a human briefing officer explained. Research programs, limited technology transfers, carefully monitored cultural exchanges. But others represent theft, espionage, or contact with other alien factions that don't share our commitment to protecting developing civilizations. Sofia studied the information, beginning to understand the delicate balance that existed between secrecy and protection. "How many humans know about this program?" "Fewer than 300 worldwide," Captain Hernandez replied. "Military pilots, intelligence officers, scientists, diplomats, each selected based on psychological profiles that suggest they can handle the responsibility without becoming compromised." Lieutenant Torres raised her hand tentatively. "Are we being recruited for this program?" Kefver's response carried warmth that transcended species barriers. "You are being offered the opportunity to serve in ways that extend beyond your current understanding of military duty. The choice is entirely yours, but if you accept, you will become part of something larger than any single planet or species." Sofia looked around the briefing room, noting details she had missed initially, maps that showed not just Earth but other star systems, personnel rosters that included names she couldn't pronounce, mission logs that dated back decades, chronicling successful interventions in conflicts that the general public never knew had threatened their existence. She had thought herself a truth-bearer carrying the weight of cosmic secrets alone. Instead, she had been unknowingly participating in humanity's first steps toward joining an interstellar community, her individual actions part of a larger test of her species' readiness for expanded responsibility. "What happens next?" Sofia asked. Captain Hernandez smiled for the first time since she had known him. "Now you help us decide whether humanity is ready to know they're not alone. And if they are, you help us figure out how to tell them." The weight of cosmic secrets had not disappeared from Sofia's shoulders. If anything, it had increased exponentially. But for the first time since that October morning, she was no longer carrying it alone. Over the following weeks, Sofia's world expanded in ways she could never have imagined during her years of standard military service. Meridian Station became her secondary assignment, officially classified as advanced aircraft testing, but in reality serving as humanity's primary coordination center for extraterrestrial cooperation and threat assessment. The scope of the operation astounded her. Similar facilities existed on every continent, hidden bases where human and alien personnel worked together to monitor and counter threats that conventional intelligence agencies couldn't even detect. Lieutenant Torres and Lieutenant Santos had both accepted recruitment into the program, their psychological evaluations confirming what Keffer had sensed during their first encounter. "The hardest part isn't learning about alien technology," Torres confided during a briefing break in late March. "It's realizing how much of human history has been influenced by things we never knew existed." Sofia understood completely. The classified archives at Meridian Station contained records that rewrote her understanding of major historical events. The Chernobyl disaster had been caused by a terrorist group testing stolen alien power systems. The 1947 Roswell incident had been real, but it was a human aircraft reverse-engineered from alien technology that crashed, not an alien vessel. Several major airline disasters of the past decade had been prevented by interventions, similar to Sofia's encounter with Iberia Flight 447. Most disturbing were the threat assessments, showing current activities by hostile human factions. A cellular network of scientists, military officers, and industrial leaders had been acquiring alien technology through unauthorized contacts and developing weapons that could destabilize global civilization. The biological weapon Sofia had helped neutralize was merely their latest test. Project Prometheus, Captain Hernandez explained during a secure briefing. Named after the Greek titan who stole fire from the gods. They believe humanity deserves unlimited access to alien technology regardless of the consequences. The briefing room's holographic display showed a complex web of connections spanning multiple countries and organizations. Sofia recognized some of the names: defense contractors, research universities, government officials whose public positions seemed completely legitimate. Kethver's presence filled the room as the alien coordinator provided additional context. Prometheus represents humanity's greatest current threat to joining the galactic community. Their actions have already delayed planned disclosure by several years. Planned disclosure? Sofia asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. The original timeline called for public revelation of alien contact by 2025. Hernandez replied. Gradual introduction through carefully managed scientific announcements, followed by formal diplomatic contact. But Prometheus activities forced us to postpone indefinitely. Sofia studied the threat assessment data, noting patterns that chilled her blood. Prometheus had cells operating in Spain, Portugal, France, and Germany. Their next planned operation involved simultaneous attacks on civilian targets using alien-derived biological weapons, designed to force governments into acknowledging extraterrestrial technology while creating maximum chaos and casualties. How do we stop them? Lieutenant Santos asked, his young face showing the weight of responsibility that came with cosmic awareness. That is why you are here, Kethver responded. Conventional intelligence agencies cannot detect Prometheus activities because their technology operates beyond current human understanding. Only joint human-alien teams can identify and neutralize their operations. The answer came in the form of mission assignments that officially didn't exist. Sofia found herself flying modified aircraft equipped with alien detection systems, conducting training flights that were actually surveillance missions over suspected Prometheus facilities. Her cover as a routine military pilot provided perfect access to airspace that might otherwise be restricted. The first major operation came in April. Intelligence indicated that Prometheus planned to test a new biological weapon using a cargo aircraft departing from Barcelona's airport. Unlike the October incident with the passenger airliner, this test was designed to spread the agent over populated areas, potentially killing thousands. Sofia led a three-ship formation herself, Torres, and Santos on what appeared to be a standard training exercise over the Mediterranean. Their aircraft had been secretly modified with alien technology that allowed them to detect energy signatures from advanced weapon systems. Contact, Torres reported over encrypted communications. Unknown aircraft departing Barcelona airspace, heading for international waters. Energy signature matches Prometheus weapon systems. Sofia felt the familiar presence in her mind as Kethver provided additional intelligence from the alien surveillance network. The aircraft carries 12 human operatives and a biological weapon, capable of killing every living thing within a 50-kilometer radius. They plan to test it over uninhabited ocean areas before deploying it over populated regions. Engagement is authorized, came Captain Hernandez's voice from Meridian Station. Use non-lethal suppression if possible, but the weapon cannot be allowed to deploy. Sofia selected her targeting systems, noting that her aircraft's weapons had been replaced with alien technology that could disable enemy systems without necessarily killing the operators. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was using alien weapons to stop humans who had stolen alien technology. The Prometheus aircraft was a modified cargo plane, larger and slower than her fighters but equipped with defensive systems that made it dangerous to approach. As Sofia closed to intercept range, her threat warning systems activated, indicating that the cargo plane was armed with weapons that operated according to physics she didn't understand. Phoenix Flight, the target aircraft is powering up defensive systems, Sofia transmitted. Engage with extreme caution. These weapons may not behave according to conventional parameters. What followed was unlike any combat Sofia had experienced. The Prometheus aircraft seemed to phase between dimensions, appearing solid one moment and translucent the next. Their weapons fired energy beams that bent around obstacles and could change direction in mid-flight. But Sofia's team had advantages the Prometheus operatives couldn't anticipate. Their aircraft responded to thought as much as touch, guided by alien AI systems that could predict and counter moves before they were made. The battle lasted 17 minutes and ended with the cargo plane disabled, but intact, its crew unconscious, but alive, and its biological weapons safely neutralized. As Sofia escorted the disabled aircraft to a secure landing facility, she realized that her role had evolved again. She was no longer just a truth-bearer or even a secret keeper. She had become a soldier in humanity's first interstellar conflict, fighting to protect her species from threats that existed in the shadows between worlds. The war for humanity's future was being fought by pilots whose existence was classified beyond normal military doctrine, using weapons that officially didn't exist, against enemies who had betrayed their own species for power they couldn't comprehend. And Sofia Reyes was leading the front lines of that invisible war. By summer 2020, Sofia had participated in 17 operations against Prometheus cells across Europe, each mission officially logged as routine training or equipment testing. The hidden war between authorized alien cooperation and unauthorized technology theft had escalated into a global conflict that most of humanity remained completely unaware of. The success rate was remarkable. Every Prometheus operation had been stopped before deployment, every stolen alien technology recovered or neutralized, every terrorist cell disrupted without causing public awareness of the true nature of the threats. But the cost was becoming evident in the personnel at Meridian Station. Sofia observed the changes in herself and her colleagues during a brief respite between missions. The psychological weight of carrying cosmic secrets while maintaining normal military appearances was taking its toll. Lieutenant Torres had developed a distant look that suggested she was constantly processing information on multiple levels. Lieutenant Santos had become almost obsessively focused on mission details, as if preventing alien technology terrorism was the only thing that mattered. Dr. Carmen Ruiz had been cleared for limited knowledge of the program and now served as the psychological support specialist for Meridian Station personnel. During Sofia's monthly evaluation, the psychologist's concerns were evident. "You're all showing signs of what I can only describe as reality dissociation," Dr. Ruiz explained. "You're living simultaneously in the normal world where humans are, alone in the universe, and the classified world where you're fighting an interstellar conflict. The mental strain of maintaining both realities is unsustainable long-term." Sofia understood the problem intimately. During official base functions, she smiled and chatted with pilots who complained about routine training exercises while she processed memories of dogfights with aircraft that could phase between dimensions. She attended briefings about conventional threats while carrying knowledge of biological weapons that could sterilize entire continents. "How long can we maintain this division?" Sofia asked. Dr. Ruiz consulted her notes, her expression grave. Based on historical analysis of deep cover operatives and classified project personnel, most individuals reach psychological breaking points within 18 to 24 months of exposure to paradigm-shifting information. You're approaching that threshold. The answer came during an emergency briefing in late July. Captain Hernandez stood before the Joint Human-Alien Leadership Team at Meridian Station, his face showing the strain of coordinating a conflict that officially didn't exist. Prometheus has changed tactics, he announced. Instead of testing biological weapons in isolated areas, they're planning simultaneous releases in major population centers. Intelligence indicates coordinated attacks scheduled for August 15th in Madrid, Barcelona, Lisbon, Paris, Rome, and Berlin. Kethver's mental presence filled the briefing room with urgency that transcended species barriers. The scale of planned casualties would make concealment impossible. Governments would be forced to acknowledge alien technology exists, but under circumstances that would create maximum fear and instability. Sofia studied the intelligence reports, noting the sophisticated coordination required for such an operation. Prometheus had evolved from a loose network of technology, thieves into a well-organized terrorist organization, with cells operating across multiple countries. How many aircraft would we need to stop 6 simultaneous attacks? Torres asked. More than we have, Hernandez replied bluntly. Even with alien technology support, our current force structure can't cover 6 major cities simultaneously. The solution, when it came, represented a fundamental shift in the entire disclosure strategy. That had been planned for decades. General Rodriguez, the same man who had ordered Sofia to withdraw during her original encounter, appeared via secure video link from an undisclosed location. We're implementing Protocol 7, Rodriguez announced. Full disclosure to selected military units, limited disclosure to relevant government officials, and public revelation of extraterrestrial cooperation under controlled circumstances. Sofia felt her world shift again, just as it had during every major revelation since her first encounter with the unknown aircraft. You're going public with alien contact? We're going public with the threat, Rodriguez clarified. The public will be told that terrorist organizations have acquired advanced technology from unknown sources and are planning coordinated attacks. Military units will be briefed on the true nature of the technology and the cooperative response. Kethver's response carried both hope and concern. Your species will learn of our existence not through careful introduction, but through the necessity of joint action against a common threat. This is not the planned first contact scenario we hoped for, but it's the scenario we have, Sofia replied, understanding the implications. How many military personnel will be brought into the program? Initially, approximately 50,000 pilots, intelligence officers, and special operations personnel across NATO countries, Rodriguez replied. Full psychological screening, security clearances beyond current classification levels, and immediate deployment to counter Prometheus operations. Sofia looked around the briefing room, noting the mix of excitement and apprehension on both human and alien faces. The age of absolute secrecy was ending, replaced by limited disclosure driven by necessity rather than choice. What about the civilian population? Santos asked. When do they learn the full truth? That depends on how successfully we handle the current crisis, Rodriguez replied. If we can stop Prometheus while demonstrating that human-alien cooperation protects rather than threatens civilian populations, disclosure becomes a positive revelation. If we fail, the implication hung in the air unspoken. Failure would mean millions of casualties, global panic, and first contact occurring under the worst possible circumstances. Sofia realized that her journey from routine pilot to truth-bearer to secret warrior was approaching its final transformation. In 3 weeks, she would no longer be one of a select few humans who knew about extraterrestrial contact. She would be part of the first generation of humans, openly cooperating with alien allies to protect Earth from threats that emerged from the shadows between worlds. The question was whether humanity would prove worthy of the trust being placed in them, or whether the revelation of alien contact would arrive too late to prevent catastrophe. For Sofia Reyes, who had started this journey by disobeying orders to protect innocent passengers, the answer would be determined by her willingness to lead 50,000 humans into their first interstellar conflict. August 15, 2020, dawned with crystalline clarity across Europe, the kind of perfect morning that made it impossible to believe the world was about to change forever. Sofia stood on the observation deck of Meridian Station, watching as aircraft from 6 nations prepared for the largest coordinated military operation in human history, one that officially didn't exist in any public record. 50,000 military personnel across Europe had been briefed in the previous 3 weeks. Their psychological profiles carefully screened, their security clearances elevated beyond normal classification levels. The revelation that humanity was not alone in the universe had been delivered through military channels with remarkable efficiency, helped by the undeniable evidence of alien technology and the immediate threat it was designed to counter. Phoenix, lead, this is Control, came Captain Hernandez's voice through Sofia's headset. All station reports ready. You are authorized to begin Operation Starshield. Sofia climbed into her modified Typhoon, its systems now openly displaying alien technology. Integration that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. Around her, 47 other aircraft prepared for launch: Spanish F/A-18s, French Rafales, German Eurofighters, Italian Tornadoes, and Portuguese F-16s, all equipped with joint human-alien systems and crewed by pilots who now understood they were protecting Earth from threats that transcended national boundaries. The intelligence was precise: 6 Prometheus cells, 6 major cities, 6 biological weapons capable of killing millions. The coordination required was unprecedented, but the stakes made failure unthinkable. All Phoenix flights, this is Phoenix lead, Sofia transmitted across the encrypted network that connected operations in Madrid, Barcelona, Lisbon, Paris, Rome, and Berlin. Today we prove that humanity can rise to meet threats from any source, using alliances that extend beyond our world. Execute with precision, protect civilian populations, and show our alien allies that Earth deserves their trust. The response came as 47 voices acknowledging in 6 different languages, united by purpose that transcended nationality, ideology, or historical grievance. For the first time in human history, military forces were operating as representatives of their species rather than their governments. Sofia's target was the Madrid cell, intelligence indicating a cargo aircraft preparing to release biological agents over the city's central districts during morning rush hour. As her formation climbed toward intercept altitude, her alien-enhanced sensors detected the Prometheus aircraft departing from a private airfield south of the capital. We stand with you, came Kethifer's mental voice, not just to Sofia but to every pilot in the operation. Alien aircraft materialized alongside the human formations, their presence no longer hidden but openly acknowledged as essential partners in protecting Earth. The engagement that followed was swift and decisive. Prometheus had expected to operate in secrecy, their stolen alien technology giving them advantages over conventional military responses. They had not prepared for coordinated human-alien operations, using fully integrated systems and tactics, developed through months of joint training. Sofia's formation disabled the Madrid aircraft within 12 minutes, its biological weapon neutralized by alien technology that rendered the agents harmless while preserving the lives of the Prometheus operatives for intelligence gathering. Similar success was reported from the other 5 cities, as joint forces demonstrated capabilities that Prometheus had never imagined possible. By noon, every Prometheus cell had been neutralized, every biological weapon secured, and every terrorist operative captured alive for interrogation. The operation had succeeded beyond even optimistic projections, accomplished without a single civilian casualty or public awareness of the true scope of the threat. But the most significant victory was not tactical, it was philosophical. 50,000 human military personnel had worked alongside alien allies to protect their species, and the psychological integration had been remarkably smooth. Post-operation debriefings showed that rather than experiencing trauma from learning about extraterrestrial contact, most personnel reported feeling honored to be part of humanity's first steps toward joining a larger galactic community. "Starshield complete," Sofia reported as her formation landed at Valderas Air Base. "All objectives achieved, all personnel accounted for." General Rodriguez appeared via video link, his expression showing something Sofia had never seen before: genuine pride mixed with profound relief. "Congratulations, Phoenix Lead. You've just commanded humanity's first successful interstellar military operation." 3 months later, the world learned a carefully edited version of the truth. Government officials announced that international cooperation had successfully prevented terrorist attacks using advanced technology from unknown sources. The alien presence remained classified, but the foundation had been laid for eventual full disclosure when humanity proved ready. Sofia continued flying missions that officially didn't exist, now as commander of the European Joint Defense Squadron, leading operations that protected Earth from threats most people would never know existed. But her role had evolved beyond soldier or pilot. She had become humanity's first interstellar ambassador, bridging the gap between species through shared purpose and mutual respect. Standing again on Meridian Station's observation deck, watching human and alien personnel work together with the easy familiarity of old friends, Sofia reflected on how far she had traveled from that October morning when she first disobeyed orders to protect innocent passengers. She had learned that the greatest acts of service often happen in silence, that true strength comes from accepting responsibility without seeking recognition, and that humanity's future lay not in conquering the stars, but in proving worthy of joining the civilizations that already called them home. Captain Sofia Reyes had dismissed radio calls, engaged unknown aircraft, and helped save her species from threats they never knew existed. Her story remained classified, her heroism unrecognized by the public she protected. But in the vast cosmos where Earth was no longer alone, her name was spoken with respect by beings whose understanding of courage transcended species, whose definition of honor included the willingness to serve in absolute silence. And that recognition, Sofia had learned, was worth more than any medal ever created by human hands. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.